So, hello everyone, my name is Shelby, and I did my presentation over the effects of reading on psychological well-being. I love to read, specifically fiction, and I wanted to see what kind of benefits reading can have when it comes to cognitive function and overall well-being. So we can go ahead and get into the presentation. So our first section here is quality of life. So I found an article from 2022 that looked at the effects of sedentary hobbies, specifically reading and television, on watching and television watching on psychological well-being in middle-aged and older adults. It was a longitudinal study carried out, I want to say around about 25 years. So the study was looking specifically at how hobbies like reading and watching TV can improve someone's quality of life. And the first point from the article is strengthening or preserving cognitive function. So the study found that participants who did not watch TV or read regularly tended to have poorer global cognition scores over the course of the study than participants who did regularly engage in those activities. The next factor in increased quality of life found in the study was a decrease in depressive symptoms. So the study found that participants who read regularly and watched TV regularly tended to have less depressive symptoms than those who did not, as assessed over the course of the study. This is probably due to the sense of connection that reading and also watching TV can give to a person. And then the final point for quality of life is increased life satisfaction. So the study found that participants who did not read or watch TV were more likely to report having low levels of life satisfaction than those who did regularly read and watch TV. And the increased life satisfaction is most likely due to the sense of accomplishment and connection that having a hobby, especially an active one like reading, provides. So the next benefit of reading on psychological well-being is an increase of positive affect and feelings of connection. In terms of positive affect, it's been found that reading can increase positive emotions, especially in terms of enjoyment and nostalgia. An interview study conducted by Curry et al. Last year found that all 15 participants expressed positive feelings associated with reading fiction. The sentiments they gave consisted of statements like, I know what I'm going to get, and it's kind of like slipping into a warm bath in a way. It's nice to recall your teenage years through reading, and it's help. It's somewhere to go when you don't feel like you belong somewhere. Though participants also expressed mixed or negative emotions in relation to reading, they still enjoyed the activity itself. And having a positive affect has been connected to increased psychological and social well-being. The next point we have here is that reading increases feelings of connections with others. So reading offers opportunities to connect with people through book clubs and online forums, as well as a connection to fictional characters. In the study, participants reported feeling strong emotional connections to the characters in the books they've read, so much so that not feeling an emotional connection to a character in a book often was a deal breaker in whether or not they would continue reading it. One participant in particular said it was impossibly sad and you loved that kid, you just loved him, about a fictional character in a book she had read as a child. So much like with the previous point on quality of life, reading provides a hobby and a way for someone to connect and relate to others, especially people who are already close to them, like their friends or their families. So both of these points just kind of show how reading increases positive affect and feelings of connection, which can improve psychological and social well-being. So the final point for how reading increases well-being is that reading facilitates personal growth. So in their interview study, Curry et al. Found 3 recurring themes when it came to personal growth through reading. So we have increasing self-reflection, increasing empathy, and improving knowledge. So participants expressed that they felt as though reading allowed them to reflect more on their own emotions and behaviors, allowing them to become more self-aware and mindful of their feelings and actions. Participants also expressed that reading stories about both real and fictional tragedies, like a nonfiction story about World War II, or a story like Matilda that's about children's struggles with authoritarian adults, allow them to become more empathetic towards others and how they might be feeling. Finally, multiple participants expressed but they felt as though reading increased their knowledge, especially when it came to reading nonfiction books. And so all these factors facilitate personal growth through reading. So in terms of indicators of importance, and what all these points say about reading and well-being, first one is the importance of hobbies when it comes to psychological well-being. The Lynn et al. Study from earlier about reading and TV watching kind of suggests that having a hobby, even if it's more passive like TV, but especially if it's more cognitively active like reading, keeps your mind active and enhances your quality of life. And it also allows you to connect with others through having a hobby, which once again improves your social well-being. Then there's the maintenance factors of well-being. So how having having positive or strong psychological well-being can be maintained. So it kind of demonstrates what factors go into that. The importance, once again, the importance of social connection and importance of cognitive activity through something like reading. And then finally, the final indicator of importance is interconnectedness of aspects of well-being. Often when we think of the different parts of well-being, we just think of psychological well-being or physical well-being or spiritual well-being, and we don't really consider exactly how they connect to each other. But having increased psychological well-being allows you to have a more positive affect, which causes you to be a little more pleasant in social interactions and a little more comfortable being in social interactions, which increases or improves your social well-being, which will improve your psychological well-being, and the cycle just kind of continues. So these studies about reading and well-being kind of shows how the different aspects of well-being play into each other, specifically psychological and social. So in terms of a connection to a class article, I chose the class article from Module 5 from Martella and Ryan in 2016. And that one was over the impact of pro-social behavior and positive affect on well-being. And that study found that being more pro-social improved not just social well-being, but psychological well-being as well. And that kind of plays into what the studies from Lynn et al. And Curry et al. Had found, that having a hobby like reading specifically for those studies improves your connections with others, which thus improves your social well-being, and thus your psychological well-being. So that's just kind of the connection that I had made between the studies I found for this presentation and an article that we had read earlier on in the class. So in terms of how I knew each article was peer-reviewed, I made sure to select the peer review filter on EKU Library's database. So that way I knew for certain they would be peer-reviewed. Each article is also in proper APA format with an introduction, a methods, a results, and a discussion section. Each article has its own subgroups and subheadings, but the basic format is still there. Both articles also include a reference list, in-text citations, and footnotes, which probably wouldn't be present in a non-peer-reviewed article. They also both include graphs and tables of the results found in each study. And both papers also include terms like psychological well-being, global cognitive functioning, measures that probably wouldn't be used in non or peer-reviewed articles as well. So all those factors kind of contributed to me being sure that the articles I was using for this presentation were in fact peer-reviewed. And then these are just my references. Thank you for listening to my presentation.